Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. And today we're going to look at the history of LBC Radio. Now, LBC, I'm always telling you all that you should listen to LBC because it's a natural flowing radio station. It's a call-in 24-hour service where anyone can call them and discuss anything that they want. So, leading Britain's conversation is LBC Radio. It wasn't always like that. When I was a boy listening to LBC, it was the London Broadcasting Company, and it wasn't even national. It was just a London radio station. It's very influential, and it's kind of evolved into a national platform for people to have their views. But of course, the kinds of people who call radio stations during the night are always a little bit strange. So some of the opinions that come up aren't always reflecting how the people feel. But its history reflects the changing landscape of British radio, shifting away from the very posh, uptight BBC, hello, into something much more usable and practical. Because up until 1990, in any radio station in the UK, you had to have the Queen's English, whereas now anybody can produce a program on radio if they are employed to do so. It doesn't matter what they sound like as long as they sound fairly clear. LBC was launched on October the 8th, 1973. Apparently, it was the first legal commercial radio station in the UK. Well, I'm not sure about that because I know Radio Clyde here in Scotland was also launched around that time. I'd have to check to see which one was actually first. Um, yeah, in those days we had the AM and the FM, and to be honest with you, I think I might be buying a radio after the power failure in Spain last week. I want to make sure I have one just in case. I remember its early presenters, Douglas Cameron, and Bob Holness. Oh, they had very, very posh accents. Yes, hello, LBC here. Yes, very unlike today. And it also pioneered the use of rolling news because it set up uh, some kind of news service that other radio stations could use. They kind of like all joined LBC on the hour for the news through a service which was called the Independent Radio News Network. Very interesting. However, with LBC, its journey with radio wasn't always smooth. Um, there was a time when it had financial difficulties and it was sold off to different companies and was split up. Um, but eventually, I think they reformed and regrouped back into one station. Very interesting, though. If you like radio, as I do, it's a fascinating thing. And then in 1996, it actually lost its license because here you have to bid money to operate a radio station if you want to be on air in our AM and FM spectrum. And they lost their license. Uh, and I don't know exactly how they got it back. I know it was rebranded as News Direct. And then 2003, I think, it came back again, but it had been bought over again by that point by Chrysalis Radio. And they decided to make it just 24-hour call-in. Then it was bought by Global Media, which it's owned by today. They have a lovely app. If you download the Media app, Global, you can see and hear all kinds of podcasts from all of their radio stations. They have dozens of the things. It's really exciting if you like British accents. And Global also own Capital Radio, Heart Radio, Classic FM. Oh, there's tons of them, tons. Um, yeah, I think in 2014 they changed from being London only into a national broadcaster. Yeah, so they were known as the London Broadcasting Company. Then they became London's biggest conversation, and then they became leading Britain's conversation. But we were all listening to them online anyway. I mean, it was known that it was one of the best. People like me who enjoy English media, I used to listen to them all the time, and many people do. So it became the UK's first national talk radio station. But again, I would dispute that because there was one before, which didn't last long. I think it eventually became a sport radio station, but it used to have a 24-hour call-in. I can't remember the name of it, but I don't think LBC was Britain's first national call-in station. But I could be wrong. If you don't know it, it has names like Nick Ferrari, James O'Brien, very, very well-known people. And yes, they're always interviewing prime ministers and these kind of people. So yeah, it's a vital part of the UK's media ecosystem. It has space for robust debate, critical journalism, participation. Yeah, so if you're looking for a radio station today to be listening to, I do recommend LBC. Um, these days, there's probably lots of commentary about war celebrations. I was listening to it this morning, and they're saying there's street parties and celebrations to remember the end of the war. Not where I am, there isn't. I don't know where these parties are, but they're certainly not in my neighborhood. There's none here. So I would say if you are listening, their focus probably is on the London area if they're thinking of war celebrations, because our royals, of course, and governments are pushing this because we were, after all, the winners. Had we lost the war, I don't think they'd be celebrating quite so much. Anyway, most of us really don't care. It's another day, we'll be working. There's a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m., which probably will be ignored by most of us. I don't know, it's a strange thing. We need to remember the lessons of democracy. But yeah, anyway, that's it. See you. Bye.